2 years ago, I made this video called I'm a Gross Feminist Stereotype, where I talked about all the ways that I'm a stereotypical gross feminist, just as the title would suggest. And as it turns out, a lot of people on YouTube think that I'm gross and that I'm ugly. And just the other week, this person can't swear in the first minute of the video or else I'll get demonetized. This person came into my comment section to tell me that I was ugly and that I'm not going to have success on YouTube because I look so trash all the time. I just found your channel. I'm sorry to be critical, but YouTube is a visual medium. I find it hard to look at you. I'm tired of the ironically ugly trend. Ugly glasses, ugly hair, ugly clothes. Come on. It is still okay and cool to look good and own your femininity. You still can be taken seriously. I do appreciate your viewpoint otherwise. I love that. That's like some full-on misogyny. Am I wrong? It's like, I appreciate what you have to say, but you're not pretty enough to be saying it, so I'm gonna ignore you. So below I was like, I wasn't being ironic. These are my actual glasses. This is my actual hair. I guess I'm just ugly. Like it was meant to be. Like a stroke of fate. I started getting all these ads by this girl. And I know a lot of you guys have been too. This girl, Classically Abby, she's been popping up in everyone's thing saying how to be a good woman, how to look good as a woman, how to be a good wife, how to be a good whatever. And I'm just like, I guess I, the feminist, am the perfect person to react to her. Just to satisfy the people out there who are like, Savvy, you're too ugly and too gross looking to have a viewpoint on YouTube that will ever matter. Just to satisfy y'all, I decided I'm gonna be pretty for this video. Here we go. What's up, my fellow ladies? It's Savannah, your straight aunt from the 50s. This video was brought to you by my Patreon supporters. Please don't forget to check out all my Patreon supporters, linked in the description below. They have their names there. Top tier patrons have their websites and their social media and their everything linked there. So be good to each other, friends. I love you all. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome to my channel for the first time. I have a new look today because since we're going to be reacting to Classically Abby and talking about her channel, I decided that I would try to give a classical look, right? Classical look, no gay aunt from the 80s today. No gross feminist look. So a lot of y'all have mentioned that this woman has been just showing up in everyone's notifications, and I have some interesting things to say about this. We are going to take a look at some of her videos, but first I wanted to tell you guys a funny story. Close your eyes for a minute and just sit there and think hard and remember, what was the stupidest thing you did in high school, right? Think to yourself, what was the stupidest thing you did in high school? What is the thing you did in high school that you'll look back on today and be like, oh my God, I am not that person. I would never do that thing. What is the stupidest thing you did in high school? Was it drugs? Wasn't for me. Was it sneaking out of the house late at night and getting in trouble? Not me, I didn't do that. I did something way worse than all of that in high school. Friends, when I was an edgy high school teenager, I bought a book by Ben Shapiro. I did. I went to Barnes & Noble and I purchased a book by Ben Shapiro, by this guy.
You're not big on gay marriage.
No, I'm not. I don't think that there's societal benefit to gay marriage. Issue of addressing people like you in a conversation, and the answer is that also I'm not going to bow to the sort of social convention now that I'm supposed to use a pronoun of people's choosing rather than a pronoun that accurately describes the truth.
Right.
That doesn't mean you get to come into my synagogue and get married. It also doesn't mean that I have to go to your gay wedding. I think there's some truth to that, meaning that I think that there is a utility to the use of pronouns, but that's not quite the same as suggesting that a transgender woman is a she in the objective sense. So, and it's my belief that a man and a woman do a better job of raising a child than two men or two women.
Why? Well, he released this book my senior year of high school that had something to do with the topic we were debating on the debate team that year, and I didn't know who Ben Shapiro was. Like, I had never heard of this dude before, and I was just browsing through Barnes & Noble looking for books that might help with my debate team case and my persuasive speech and all of those things for that year, looking for new evidence and new things. And I found this book where the subject matter seemed to be in line with what I was talking about. So the topic that this book was talking about was like political bias in the media, I guess, that like that sometimes TV or movies or fiction will try to embed political ideas in what they're saying, and that had to do with what I was talking about. So I said, oh, that sounds interesting, but of course it was Ben Shapiro, so the whole thing was just like, the liberal media is trying to push the gay agenda on all of us. This episode of Friends was inappropriate because it made it look like gay parenting is okay, and that is just the gross liberal media trying to brainwash you that homosexuality is not a sin. And I was like, who the fuck is this Ben Shapiro dude? And then as the years went on and we saw what a meme the man kind of became on the internet, I was like, oh, this was that dude. So, needless to say, I kind of discarded that book and didn't really use it as any evidence because, like, you know. But then I found out that Ben Shapiro has a sister. Her name is Abby. And she has a YouTube channel that is just getting up in everyone's timeline. I'm hearing, like, every time I log onto YouTube, right, I see these ads that are like, 5 ways to be a better traditional wife. 5 ways to make sure you're always dressed modestly and not showing your body off to the world, whatever. So I'm seeing this, and I'm like, oh, obviously this is Ben Shapiro's sister. She looks exactly like him. They could be twins. I think they're like 10 years apart in age or something. Like, he's definitely older. But you can tell they're from the same family. Now, I recently watched a video that Mr. Atheist Jimmy Snow put out about her, and I thought that his video was really interesting because a lot of people had been talking about the channel Girl Defined, which was a channel where there are 2 girls who talk about their life being good, traditional Christian wives or whatever. I've seen a few of their videos. I'm like, that's not for me. And then a lot of people were like, oh, is this girl classically Abby? Is this Girl Defined but Jewish? Is this like the Jewish version of Girl Defined? And I went and I watched the video that Mr. Atheist did about it. And what I liked about his video was that he was doing what I do, right? Where you give people the benefit of the doubt. He was like, she has a lot of really wrong, really harmful, really bad ideas, but she doesn't seem to be so rooted in them. Like, what she's saying is so, like, not backed up and so, like, just out there and so opinion-based that it seems like with a level of education, she could actually have a chance of changing this. This isn't rooted in like such a like, you'll see what I mean when I react to this. I will link that video in the description below. I think everyone should watch it. It's really well done. But in the meantime, I am going to be taking a look at some of her videos that might apply to me and reacting to them. So, am I Abby's target demographic? Well, I am assigned female at birth. I am married. I think that's enough to be her demographic. I don't think you even need to be either of those things. I think she's just bombarding YouTube so hard with these that I think she thinks everyone's her demographic, which is a little weird. I feel like that's not the best way to use your targeted advertising money. But regardless, we're going to take a look at her and see if she resonates with me or not. So I'm not going to react to any of her religion-based videos just because, like, she's Jewish and her faith is very important to her. I'm not Jewish. Like, that would be stupid to criticize because I watch a lot of atheist channels, but I'm actually not an atheist. I just like the way they approach information. I have, like, no particular, I was a Polish Catholic when I was younger, but I have no particular, like, religious leaning whatsoever, so I have respect for everyone's beliefs. So I'm not going to go into that, but let's see what we've got. See, she even comes up as an ad when you search for her, like, Abby, you're spending too much on YouTube ads, like, you're spending too much. I'm also interested in how she's going to define conservative, because conservative means different things to different people, and again, it's one of those things where, like, I can't argue against you unless we've defined our terms. Ladies, stop hooking up. Oh shit, I feel called out. Let's see if I knew these 10 things before I got married, and now that I'm married, like, am I missing out? What are we gonna find out? Abby, tell us.
Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video.
She's wearing the same shirt as me. I didn't plan this. I love it. Also, Abby's very pretty. I will compliment her on that. Abby, you're a very pretty woman.
Where we're going to be talking about 10 things you should know before becoming a wife.
It's a little too late. I'm married already.
Now, marriage isn't hard the first year, but what it is that it's just a lot of adjustments.
Marriage is just the same as being in a relationship, just now the government's involved. I really don't see what the difference is, but I guess maybe she's approaching this from like a religious perspective, so I don't know. You need to define marriage at the beginning of this, Abby.
Getting used to living with a new person. You have to...
Yeah, okay, I lived with him 2 years. I lived with Tyler for 2 years before we got married, so is she coming at this from the belief that you can't live together until you're married? Because you should have defined that at the beginning. And I would say normally, like, some people might say maybe she doesn't have to define that because her audience is clearly people who would already believe that you shouldn't live together till you're married, except that, like, her audience is everyone because she's advertising out the ass in this video.
To get used to their habits, what they like eating, how they like to keep the house clean. And it's so much to get used to all at once. And
it doesn't have to be that much to get used to all at once if you live together before you get married.
The third thing is that take the time before you're married to learn how to cook. If you don't know how to cook now, then maybe take some time and watch some YouTube videos or ask your mom and get some recipes under your belt. Now,
I understand the importance of cooking. I think everyone should know how to cook. I'm not good at it. I'm shitty at cooking. But I do think everyone should know it because, like, it would get expensive to just to buy takeout every night. Like, that's not feasible. So, yeah, everyone should know how to cook. But, like, why does that have to be before you get married? Or, like, why is that a specific... Like, how is that related to marriage at all? Like...
Not all wives cook. I can totally respect that. I just love cooking for my husband. I think it's a really nice thing to do.
That's fine. I'm glad you like cooking. That's cool. So far, like, I think what she's saying is kind of dumb, but I'm not really offended by it. Like, she's fine so far.
Number 5 is to take care of your looks. Now, again, this might be, I guess, sort of controversial, but I don't think it is. I think it's really easy when you get married because you're with this person and you know that they love you to just not take care of yourself as much.
Take care of your looks how? I'm gonna be real, both me and Tyler, we've both gained like 30 pounds each since our wedding, which was 3 years ago. So if you mean by staying skinny, not gonna happen. If you mean by, like, I don't know what you mean. Take care of your looks how? How, Abby? Go into detail. I can't, like, what she's saying is just so vague to the point where I'm like, I can't really agree or disagree because I don't really know what you mean. That's, like, it's like she's coming out here saying, like, you should do good things. Like, sure, what do you mean by that?
And even for your own sake, that can start to feel a little bit bad. So for me, it's important to, shave my legs. Well, now I epilate, but...
I didn't shave my legs before I got married, and I'm not gonna start now.
And to get my hair cut, and to...
There's a pandemic going on, Abby. You can't just get your hair cut whenever you want. I'm grateful that my mom does haircuts, so my mullet's finally gone.
They don't want to ask you to put on makeup, and a lot of men don't like...
So, not to be sexist, but in my experience with men, they just want something that shows off your ass. As long as it shows off the shape of your ass. That's just my experience with men. It's all about the booty. And you know what? I would agree with that.
Like makeup. My husband actually does it, but they don't want to ask you to kind of shave your legs. I mean, if your legs aren't shaven, they're not going to say anything maybe.
Tyler used to ask me to shave my legs when we were 16. We've known each other for forever. So when we were like 16, he would be like, hey, can you shave your legs? Because a lot of people are like talking about how you're a gross feminist stereotype. And I'm like, no, dude, because the reason I don't shave my legs, contrary to popular belief, is not because I'm trying to make some kind of statement. It's because I like hair. Like, you can tell I have a lot of hair. I just like something being completely hairless. I have tried shaving my legs before. I've done it before, and they're completely smooth. And I hate it. Like, I hate the way it feels. I hate the way it rubs against things. I just hate the smooth surface. I hate it. I hate every aspect of how it feels. So, no, I have been asked to shave my legs, and I've said no. You're allowed to set your own physical boundaries.
But they also would maybe like it for you to shave. So keeping those things in mind and just trying to like look nice for your partner as if you're still dating is a really nice thing to do.
I looked like trash when we were dating, and I look like trash now, so get you a man who loves you for who you are. Or a woman. Honestly, if I hadn't found Tyler in my life, there's a much higher chance I'd be with a woman.
My 8th piece of advice is that you can still be friends with your single friends. I've heard from a lot of single women.
Okay, this is important. Actually, she's right about this. Dude, Abby, I'm starting to like this Abby. Is this what she's doing? She's like, she's using these titles to bait me into thinking I'm going to be angry so that I'll make reaction videos and be forced to watch her and be like, you know what, Abby, I think we could be friends. Girl, I think we could be friends. What? Because she's over here like, you can still be yeah. That, you know what? A lot of people need to know that. I get so tired of people thinking that they have to do everything with their significant other and can't do anything without them. Like, you guys see me, like, I'm married and I have a lot of friends on YouTube who are married that I do collaborations with. I mean, I used to hang out with my single friends in person before there was a pandemic going on, but back then, like, it doesn't, like, I have friends who are single, who are married. I have friends who are, like, both asexual and aromantic and never had planned to get married and will be single forever and we're still gonna be friends. And, like, I have friends that go through tons of relationships and, you know, are single until they find the right person. I have so many different situations with friends. You can be friends with people who are still single. You can be friends with other married people. You can be friends with people of any gender. You can be friends with anyone you want. Marriage does not affect your friendships, and if your partner wants to make your marriage affect your friendships, then you need to really reevaluate if that's healthy. That's my thought. Let's see if Abby agrees.
That they get really nervous when their friends get engaged and are getting married because they don't know if they're still going to be able to maintain that friendship.
That is the saddest thing I've ever heard. That is the saddest thing I've ever heard. I hate the idea that it's like, now that you're with someone, you're a unit forever. Like, why? You're still individual people who should get to do the things that make you happy. That just makes marriage sound so sad and undesirable.
I can say from my experience being married, I have friends who are not married, and we have definitely stayed in touch. My husband has friends that are not married, and they've definitely stayed in touch.
Good for you guys.
Taking the time to reach out to those single friends will really mean a lot to them and to you. Just because they're at a different point in their lives doesn't mean that you can't still stay friends. You can learn something from each other, which
Just one point I disagree with. Not being married doesn't mean you're at a different point in your life. Some people don't have any desire to get married, but I think we're going to watch another video where Abby's going to convince us that everyone should get married, so I'm going to probably disagree with her there. But other than that, I do agree with this point.
I think is so important. And so I love being friends with everybody who I knew before I was married. So just taking the time to show your single friends that things
Abby.
don't have to change.
Yes!
Of course, they're going to change a little bit because you're going to have to go cook your husband dinner or...
No? What? What? You're telling me I have to stop hanging out with my friends to go cook my husband dinner? Abby, you lost me there. Why? Why can't you just be like, hey, I'm going to go have dinner with my friends tonight and Tyler can just cook his own dinner? Or, like, go get tacos down the street. Like, this isn't that hard.
Hang out with him, or you're going to be on date night or whatever it is, but your actual relationship with your girlfriends doesn't have to change. And you can...
Okay, side note real quick, I hate when straight women say girlfriends when they're talking about platonic friends that are women. Do you call your male friends your boyfriends? No, because that would be weird. Does your husband call his male friends his boyfriends? No. Here's the reason I hate this, right? Because it's like, it contributes to, I don't know the best way to say this, sapphic, WLW, lesbian, I don't know. It contributes to the erasure of women who like other women. That's the best way to say this. It contributes to the idea that relationships require a man. And that's again, this video is Ugly Feminist Reacts, so you know you're gonna get the ugly feminist in me, but that's the truth, is that I hate when people are like, your girlfriends, because I've had times in the past where, like, I have some two friends who are engaged and they're both women, and they like I've introduced them, oh, this is my friend and this is her girlfriend, and then people will be like, oh, what was her friend's name? Are they their friend? I'm like, no, they're engaged, dude. So it's like it contributes to this idea that like what do you call another woman that you're dating when you're a woman? Anyway, that's just me. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be your straight aunt and not your gay aunt today, but it's hard to keep that up.
You can still go out with them every once in a while on your own. You don't necessarily have to take your husband along and have her be a third wheel. You can still go out with your girlfriends, just the two of you, and that's totally fine. Number 9 is you should let your home be welcoming to your husband's friends. Now, your husband is probably going to want his friends to come over sometimes, and you don't want it to feel like he's not allowed to, because then he'll feel like he has to leave his home to have his male friendships.
That's weird, because you're just talking about how you as a woman can continue to have friends. So why is that your responsibility? Like, why wouldn't you make your home welcoming to your friends? He would make it welcoming to his friends, or the two of you together could just make your home welcoming to all your friends. Like, why is it your specific responsibility to make it welcoming to your husband's friends? I don't know, and I'm not going to assume and be like, well, obviously because Abby is sexist and thinks all women need to be taking care of the home, but that seems like what she's getting at, but I don't want to straw man her argument, so she just isn't going into enough detail here.
And I think it's a really nice thing for a man to be able to bring home his friends, for you to be a part of that. My husband is so wonderful about this. When he has his friends over, he actually invites me to be included in board game nights or video games or whatever it is so that I can participate.
That sounds fun.
But there are times where I don't want to participate, and that's totally fine. And I don't mind going in the other room and reading a book, and he can hang out with his guy friends. But I want him to feel like...
Okay, the way Abby has girl space friends. Her husband has guy friends. I'm not sure, she hasn't stated it outright, but I'm starting to become concerned that this is going to be one of those things where Abby's like, but I don't have any male friends and husband doesn't have any female friends.
Like, our home is really our home, so he can bring his friends and I can bring my friends, and both of us feel like it's totally welcoming space for both of us, nice. And not a place where you're not allowed to bring home people that you enjoy their company and friends that you want to play cards with and stuff like that.
That sounds fun.
So just make your home as welcoming.
One caveat, I guess this came out in January of 2020. Don't do it during the pandemic. Don't bring people to your house. But I'll give her the benefit of the doubt because she made this before the quarantine started.
Space for both of you that you can. Number 10, and my last piece of advice, is that it's totally normal to argue. Just make sure that you're...
Okay, you know what? I agree. Abby, a few of the points you made, I think were a little bad, but you know what? I agree overall. So, nice job on that video. Let's see if you can keep it up. 5 reasons marriage is awesome.
Hello, beautiful ladies, and
Hello,
welcome
Abby.
to today's video, where we're going to be talking about 5 reasons marriage is awesome.
It is. I'm married.
So I've been married for 2 years now, and I absolutely love being married.
Abby, I've been married for 3 years. I've been married longer than you. I have more marriage experience than Abby does. So if she's wrong, I'm going to call her ass out.
But when I got married, some people would have said I was a little...
Also, Abby, your hair looks beautiful here. Just a compliment, because we ladies got to compliment and stand up for each other.
young. I got married at 24.
I got married at 25. I had turned 25 like 3 weeks before. So Abby, we have a lot in common. Also, you're younger than me. That's weird.
Now, when I was growing up in a more Orthodox religious community, that age was actually just about right and really accepted. It wasn't considered young. But at the time that I got married, I wasn't living in the Orthodox Jewish community. I was living at Manhattan School of Music, and I was in my grad program. And a lot of the people around me thought that 24 was super young to get married. And
also, I think that's cool that Abby's an opera singer. I think that's cool. Good for you.
a lot of them also thought that marriage was kind of silly. I knew a lot of my friends who said that they never even wanted to get married, that they...
I have friends who don't want to get married. Sometimes it is due to the fact that they don't have that type of sexual or romantic attraction to other people. Sometimes it's due to the fact that they just it's just not a thing they really care about. Nobody really has to. I'm married and I think it's cool, but I don't think it's required.
They thought that the whole premise was silly and that it really wasn't even worth their time. So I wanted to talk about today why marriage is amazing. And
okay, so we know going into this that Abby is positioning 2 separate arguments, right? She's saying there's people here who say marriage isn't worth my time. And then I'm going to tell you why I think marriage is awesome. So she's like directly making these two things oppose each other, which is fine. But that means that we have to look at the arguments that she makes about why marriage is awesome in opposition to like people saying marriage is unnecessary. So basically what she's going to say, it has to be, can you still do that if you weren't married? Because otherwise it's not an argument in favor of why you have to get married, right? Like if her friends are like, marriage is useless, and she's like, well, marriage is fun because you can do this. If it's something you could do when you are not married, like if you don't have to be married to do that thing, then it's not really an argument against marriage being unnecessary. Does that make sense? If that doesn't make sense, let me know in the comments. Anyway, I just want to make sure that we are talking, we're addressing her points as she makes them.
And the first thing that I love about being married is that there's always someone to hang out with.
Yeah, you don't have to be married to always have someone to hang out with. You could be roommates with your best friend. Done.
It's awesome to know that whenever you want to go out, there's someone there who will go out with you.
That's not true. Sometimes if I want to go out, Tyler's like, I'm exhausted and I want to go to bed. Sometimes if he's like, I want to go out. Well, first of all, just to be clear, there's a pandemic. Neither of us are going out. Don't go out in the pandemic. Please. Don't do it. It's unsafe. Anyway, there's not always, like, you don't own each other. You just said that in the previous video, that you're allowed to not have to hang out. Abby, you're ruining it.
Whenever you want to go see a movie, your partner will go with you.
That's not true. I've wanted to see certain movies Tyler didn't want to see. He wanted to see movies I didn't want to see. Sometimes we were busy during the time the other person wanted to go to the movie. What?
The second thing is you have a 24/7 support system. It's an amazing feeling to know that there's always going to be someone on the other end of the phone who you can reach out to if you need to. You know that if you're...
For a lot of people, like, I can reach out to my mom anytime I want to have a support system. I have, like... I really don't get why she thinks that only your spouse can do this. Like, that other people can do this.
Number 3 is that you can actually start planning your future. And what I mean...
Okay, I'm a little confused on this. I was planning my future before I was married. I plan my future now. My future doesn't always actually, like, not every goal I have involves my husband. So I need more coffee. Then I'm gonna come back and see about this. It's coffee o'clock.
By that is when you're single, you can sort of make plans, but the problem is that you don't know exactly what things are going to look like because you don't have somebody else there whose plans you're going to need to take into account too. When you are living alone, all of those things are yourself. You're independent. You have to just do what you...
Maybe this is because I'm a selfish bitch, but here's the thing. I wouldn't marry someone who doesn't share my life. When I say share my life goals, like, Tyler doesn't want to be an author. Like, obviously we don't have to have that same goal, but I wouldn't marry someone who... like, if I got with them and they were like, oh, this goal you set doesn't match with my goals, therefore you have to change it, I wouldn't marry that person because I care about myself. Let's say, for example, I'm a person who I have a career goal that, like, I need to move to a specific part of the country or the world to do that job. And I have a plan that I'm going to work in that job 100 hours a week to get to the top. And I meet someone and fall in love with them. And they... won't live in that part of the world or country, and they don't want that they don't want someone who's going to be a workaholic around the clock. I wouldn't marry them because I would look for someone who shared the same life vision as me. Another thing is I don't want to have kids. Like, I'm not saying I'll never raise a kid. I never want to physically have kids, though. I am 100%, 110% positive of that. Tyler does not feel strongly that we need to have biological kids. In fact, he has no interest in that. So if I married a guy who is like, it's really important to me that we have a child biologically that shares both of our genes, I just wouldn't marry him because that's not something that, like, I wouldn't take his thoughts into account. I would just say, we're incompatible, dude. This doesn't work. Either that or I'd marry a woman.
You need to do while you're single. And you can kind of make a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come into play because, again, you don't have that person who is going to change those things, who is going to help you decide when you're going to have kids, and who's going to help you know if you're going to work full-time and all of those things.
Yeah, why would they help you? Nobody is going to... Okay, first of all, because having kids is a thing that I would have to... If I were to do so biologically, I would have to do with my own body. So no one is gonna help me decide that, because like I'm not putting my body through what I like. First of all, if you've had kids, like, shout out to you. You're awesome. You're doing something I never could. Getting pregnant is my second worst fear. Death is wins by just a hair, right? Being pregnant is my second worst fear next to death. It might even be a worse fear than death for me. Would I rather be pregnant or dead? I don't know. Like, it is that bad of a fear. The things I hear and see about pregnancy equate to like body horror out of like a movie that I wouldn't even watch. I would not get pregnant under any circumstance. Nobody is going to influence that. Second, what are you talking about? Decide if you work full time. First of all, for most people, Abby, the economy decides if they work full time. Okay? People don't just decide, oh, I don't want to work full time. So, like, no, dude, people work as much money as they need to make to pay for their mortgage and their family and whatever else. Like, what? There is no reason that you cannot plan out, I want a full-time career in this field. I want to have 2 kids out of my vagina. You can make that plan for yourself, and you can make that a standard that you won't marry someone who doesn't agree with that, because that might be the top priority for you. Now, if those things are not the top priority for you, you can absolutely have that be something you compromise on with your partner or whatever. Like, everyone's going to do their own thing. But if those things are what's most important to you for your life, then you find a person out there who exists out there in the world, probably, who agrees with that. Because those things, for some people, like for me, having a career in writing, having a creative career, and being a business owner, those are non-negotiable. Those are things that make me savvy. Those things make me who I am. So I would not give those things up under any circumstances. And that's why I married someone who likes those things about me.
But when you get married, you can really start to make those plans. Because even though things aren't going to be exactly as you plan them, of course not, you at least have the partner there who you have to take into account, and you'll at least know what his plans are and how that's going to affect your plans. When you're trying to plan by yourself, it's just different because...
Why wouldn't you each have your plans separately and then marry a person whose plans are compatible with yours? Did you choose the person before the plan? Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, Abby, if that worked for you, you seem very happy with your husband. So I'm not saying that it's always wrong to do that, but I'm saying for some people, their priority is the plan, and who the partner is secondary to that. But okay, go off.
You don't necessarily know what things are going to change when you get married. Getting married changes everything. All of a sudden, you have a timeline for...
Getting married changed nothing for me, because Tyler and I were already living together when we got married. I mean, the one thing it changed is that I got health insurance, because I'm a business owner. And as a business owner, I don't make enough to be able to provide my own health care. That's the one thing marriage changed, was that I have health insurance. Oh, and Tyler and I can file our taxes together. But we owned a home before we got married. We bought a home together before marriage. So I do not know what you're going on about.
When you want to start a family, when you guys want to move, where you guys want to live, all of those...
You can decide. I decided when I was a child that I was going to live in Chicago forever. I decided that because I love Chicago. And briefly in my childhood, I was forced to move out of Chicago for family reasons. And I announced as a child, the second I can move back, I'm moving back. And I did. I moved back when I was 18. And I've been here again since then. I work here, I live here, my business is here, I do all my stuff here. If ever he gets some kind of opportunity where his work is like, hey, you got to do this job in this totally different place, I would be like, for the stint of that, we will be long distance because I live in Chicago. And you're allowed to have those boundaries. There's nothing wrong with that.
Those things change when you get married. Like, I didn't know that I would live in Virginia and then live in Nebraska. I never would have guessed that. But then when I married my husband, I knew I had to go with him because my job is flexible. I can work from anywhere, and his job isn't. So all of a sudden, my plans were totally upended, and I was able to be more secure in my own plans that I think I'm going to work remotely. I think it's going to be easier for me to work from home because I'm not...
That's cool that you work from home. Like, I'm fine with that. And I think it's cool that that Abby's an opera singer. I'll always, like, give her kudos for being a singer. Like, her voice is... I've listened to it. Like, she's got pipes, dude.
Going to have to push and pull with my husband about where we'll move. Don't you remember as a kid you were like, by the time I'm 20, I'm gonna be married, have a house, all of these crazy things that when you hit 24, you're like, well, none of that happened.
I was the opposite. This might be because guys, a lot of people are like, Savvy, I cannot spend too much. You are too hardcore on the goals. But, like, I was a child and I was like, when I moved out of Chicago the first time when my parents got married, I moved out of Chicago as a kid. I moved back. I was like, when I'm 18, I'm going to move back to Chicago. I'm going to go to Northwestern. I'm going to become an author. I'm going to do, and I like had this specific outline of all of those things from like early childhood. And I've done all of them. The only thing I didn't is I told myself I was going to get a DeLorean as my first car, and I still don't own a car, but I do have a DeLorean tattooed on my side, so in my own way, I have a DeLorean too.
It's just impossible to make certain plans when you're not married, when you don't have your partner to help you with those plans.
Disagree. I love my conservative... Let's talk about... Okay, if she's going to just say the same shit about marriage, I might skip around, but I really want to know what Abby thinks conservative means and what it means to her. Because I know, like, a lot of people would say, like, at least a lot of people that I know and a lot of circles I run in, you know, conservative is equivalent to people who are trying to, you know, oppress others, or, you know, people who are trying to keep wealthy power structures in place, or people who are pro-corporation, or people who are willing to, you know, put a church structure ahead of individual freedom. Like, there's a variety of what conservative means, but then I know people who, to them, conservative means a limited government type of structure where, you know, and when you have limited government, that has a lot of meanings, right? Where it's like some people think limited government is equivalent to capitalism reigning supreme, and that is why conservatism is bad. Other people would say that limited government, which is usually considered in America to be a conservative belief, a lot of people would say limited government could be a path to anarchy, and that could lead to more personal freedom. And it's a whole thing where it's like none of these terms actually have one clear definition. So when Abby says she's conservative, I don't know what she means by that. She needs to tell me. Tell me, Abby. What does it mean? Are you going to tell me?
Hello, beautiful ladies, and
Hello,
welcome
Abby.
to today's video, where we're going to be talking about why I love my life as a conservative woman.
All right, cool. I'm hoping that she finally tells us what she means by this.
Now, this is going to be the first episode in a series all about why I love being conservative, and I love being a conservative woman specifically. So Today I really want to talk about marriage and why I love...
Okay, I already know why you love being married. Okay, let's talk about why you came out as conservative, whatever. Mr. Atheist Jimmy Snow already did a great reaction to this video where he talked about, like, why it's generally not cool to appropriate the coming out language because, like, a lot of people, myself included, have had to come out as part of the LGBT community, and in a lot of people that puts them in a very, you know, unsafe place depending on their family, depending on the environment, depending on where they grow up. And now it's entirely possible that, you know, revealing something, and he even brought this up in his video where he talked about how where he was living, you know, when he came out as pansexual, he received less backlash than when he came out as an atheist because he lived in a Mormon place growing up, that kind of thing. So I think, like, to an extent, it's okay to use coming out for different things, but I feel like coming out as a certain ideology doesn't make sense. But, you know, I'm not going to go into that. Let's take the culture back. Okay, well, I think she'll define conservatism in this one. Also, Abby, why have you not done a video of, like, hair tips? Your hair's looking bomb, girl.
Social media, celebrities, influencers, and YouTubers. So much of the time, it feels like one worldview, one position is tolerated. Many of them don't say outright what their politics are. Many of them do.
Tell me.
None of them need to, and none of them will say what I'm about to. I'm a conservative influencer.
Good for you. Are you gonna tell me what it means? Abby, I still don't know what your politics are. All you've told me is that you like being married. I like being married too. That's not a political position.
Being a conservative woman in today's day and age is not easy.
Why?
You'll be told that you have internalized misogyny. You'll be
You
told
might.
that you don't care about other women's well-being.
Do
You'll be
you?
told that you aren't a real woman. But
Okay, Abby, what does being conservative mean to you? What do you think it means to women? What does it mean? What does it mean, Abby?
none of that is true. Conservative
Okay,
women are
why?
the backbone of American society.
How
We
so?
prioritize marriage and children, support our husbands, and support ourselves.
Is that what being conservative means? That you have children and support your husband? First of all, I know a lot of women that are like political leftists that don't that also have children and support their husbands, so that doesn't make any sense. Also, some people who consider themselves conservative, like I said earlier, do so because they are, maybe have like a libertarian take the government out of business viewpoint and don't actually intend to have kids or get married. Like these things, I can see how like culturally there's a pattern of these things going together, but it's not required. Like that, you haven't drawn that connection for me yet.
We teach our families the strength of women both inside the home and out. We help
for
our
you.
husbands grow, not by obeying their every word, but by bolstering their strengths and tamping down their weaknesses.
Nothing she's saying is related to being conservative. Like, does she mean politically conservative? Because at the beginning she said people talking about their political beliefs. So I thought she was going to be talking about being politically conservative. And now she's saying, like, are you talking about being culturally conservative in, like, a traditional wife role? But in your other videos, like, you have a career too, so like I'm so confused. She's not making a clear point, and it's driving me insane.
We live with values that encourage people to be better. We fight for what's right, even when the world tells us that everyone should do what they want, regardless.
Okay, you fight for what's right. What are some of those things? Can you give me an example? Take the culture back from what? You're not telling me anything, Abby. You're driving me insane with this. I would get less mad if Abby came out here and was like, women belong in the home. Every woman should be required to birth 2.5 children. Like, at least then she'd be telling me something. She's telling me nothing, and that's making me even more angry. Like, I cannot handle this.
Regardless of consequences. We stand hand in hand with men, not against them. And we
stand hand in hand with men, not against them. I don't know what she means by that. I hold my husband's hand, so I stand hand in hand with men, I guess. But like, is that supposed to be a dig at like feminists who say like fuck the patriarchy or whatever? Because I can say, as someone who tattooed one of my dolls with fuck the patriarchy across her chest, when you say you want to end the patriarchy, that doesn't mean that you want to do that doesn't mean you're against men in any way. It just means like patriarchy doesn't equal men. Men are good people. I married a man. I like men. Men are fine. The problem is a system where men hold all the power, right? So what that means is like if you have a government that's made overwhelmingly of men, if you have law enforcement, and if you have court systems, if you have all of these jobs that determine how society operates that are all dominated overwhelmingly by men, then you're getting only men's perspectives and you're getting only their influence, and they still get to control everything and have historically. And that doesn't mean that any individual man is necessarily a bad person. It's just saying that there should be more equality within the structure. So I think feminists do stand hand in hand with men, but you also haven't really said what you mean by that. Don't know what you're talking about, Abby.
We shouldn't have to remain silent about our views, like I did, for years. You've been forgotten and left.
But you haven't said anything controversial yet. There's no way you remain silent about the fact that you like being married. Like, that's not a controversial view, Abby.
Behind, as magazines and movies decided you're outdated. But the best way to be a woman is to act more like a man.
Guys, do you think it's going to be too much for me to tell Abby that gender is a social construct? Is Abby aware of trans people and that kind of, like, is she aware that acting like a woman and like a man is not a clearly defined thing? Like, what does it mean? She doesn't define it either. Like, does she know what it means to act like a woman versus act like a man versus look or be like a man? Like, this is what I was talking about when someone in my comments rolled up and was like, you need to own your femininity, otherwise you won't be taken seriously and you're hard to look at and you're ugly and whatever, and that person. I'm thinking, like, butch is a woman style, right? Like butch is a lesbian style historically. And that doesn't mean you look more like a man. It is a style that women adopt. So like, this was the thing that got me mad at J.K. Rowling's whole Turf Wars post when she was like, I have a friend who's a very butch lesbian, so I understand trans men. And it's like, no, trans men and butch lesbians are different because butch lesbians are women and butch is a female style that uses more like angular looks, more, you know, I don't even know how to describe it. But it's not being men. It's being a woman with a style that I guess socially people would consider masculine based on trends, but it's not, like, I don't understand what she's saying.
You've been told that you don't care about women because you care about a child in her womb.
Okay. Are we talking about abortion here? I think we're talking about abortion. I wish you'd say outright what you mean, Abby, because it's hard to talk to you about this. I want to do a video on abortion at some point. Because I think you can care about a child in a womb and about the woman at the same time. Here's the best way I can describe this right now. In a brief way, because this is not a video about abortion. That is a huge topic that means a lot of things to a lot of people, and I am not here to just burst in and tell other people what's right and what's wrong. I will say that you can both believe that life begins at conception and you can care about that unborn baby and love it as a human, and also respect that woman's right to remove it from her body if she doesn't want it there. You can do both of those things at the same time. It is 1,000% possible. Here's how you can view that. You can say, okay, this woman here is pregnant. She has an unborn baby inside of her. I consider that baby to be a full human, a full person with full rights. You can say that, and you can still respect her right to abort that baby, because even if someone is a full human, you never have the right to another person's body. For example, I'm a full human. I'm an adult who exists on my own. If I suddenly was about to die and needed a liver replacement right at this moment, or else I would die, and my mom had the perfect liver to match, she could give it to me, but the law will never require her to, because nobody has the legal right to someone else's body. Even if somebody is a corpse, even if you are dead, you have to sign your rights as an organ donor. So if a fully living person, if a fully living person has a dead parent, even though they are your parent and they are responsible for keeping you alive, they will never be required to give you their organ. They will never be required to give you their body. If you have a baby that comes out of you and is born, and nobody would dispute that that baby is a full person with full rights. Nobody. That baby's here. If the baby says, hey, mom, you have to now hook up your baby to your body outside of you now that they're born because you need to share blood because of some disease or something. The law could never require that, because you can be a full person with your own right to life, but if your right to being alive infringes on someone else's right to bodily autonomy, you are never entitled to that. So I can say, yes, that fetus inside of someone is a whole person and has a whole right to life, but if they are not capable of surviving, they're not entitled to that person's body. So you have the right to take it out of your body. You have the right to take it out of your body. I hope that makes sense. I genuinely think that can be common ground. I think you can be pro-life and pro-choice at the same time. And I think that's entirely possible, and people need to look at that. So yes, Abby, I care about the babies inside of a womb. But I also care about the person who has that body in the first place. You can care about, but oh my God, it's not a one or the other kind of thing. But thank you at least for giving me a concrete thing to talk about.
You've been told that believing in God is passé. You've been silenced about your views, but not anymore. Let's take back the culture so women can be women. Let's talk about...
What do you mean women can be women? Women are already women. You're already a woman, Abby. No one's telling you you're less of a woman for anything. Literally, Abby, I would never go up to Abby and be like, Abby, you're less of a woman because you like whatever. I would never do that. I think Abby is a very beautiful feminine woman, and I respect her. I do not agree with her, but I respect that she is a woman. And I don't know how anyone could disagree with that. So, Abby, what you're arguing against is, you're straw-manning, dude. You're arguing against something nobody said.
About reclaiming your femininity. Let's talk about dating with purpose.
I'm starting to think Abby's the one who left that comment on my video telling me I'm ugly and need to reclaim my femininity.
Let's talk about finding balance in career and home life.
Abby, have you not heard the term work-life balance? Everyone's already talking about how do we find balance in career and home life. Both men and women and non-binary people and everybody are talking about that. What are you on about?
Let's talk about how to do your makeup for a night at the opera, not a night at the club.
Shit, which is my makeup for? Is it for a night at the opera or the club? I don't know how to do makeup, right? I have makeup for cosplay. I don't do cosplay anymore because there's a pandemic going on. I don't know differences in makeup styles. I know wearing makeup and not wearing makeup. And I respect the shit out of actual makeup artists who know what they're doing because it is not my forte. Is my makeup for the opera or the club? I don't know. All right, why I should dress modestly. I dressed modestly just for you today, Abby, so let's talk about that.
Hello, beautiful ladies,
Hello,
and welcome
Abby.
to today's video,
Your hair's
where
looking
we're
good
going to be
again.
talking about modesty, why it's important, and why it doesn't mean looking like garbage. Modesty. It's a concept that some women truly hate. It's also a concept that a lot of women embrace.
What do you mean by modesty? This is Abby's problem. She doesn't define her terms. Because when I hear of modesty, I think of like being modest means, I guess I equate being modest with being humble. So, or modesty and like humility. Like if someone says they're modest, I would assume they mean like they don't brag about their accomplishments a lot. But to her, it's a style of dressing. So does she mean you're not like showing your titties off? Because like, Abby, you don't know what it's like. No one knows what it's like to have these boobs right here. I'm not being modest. To have these boobs that are 13 inches wider in circumference than your waist. Because, dude, here's some lack of modesty. I couldn't even button this, okay? Just to dress modestly, like, I cannot find clothes for it. The reason I have to show my boobs off all the time is that I have to wear clothes that's like 3 sizes bigger if I don't want them to be. It's hard to dress for a body type that is so aggressively feminine. I own my femininity so much that I haven't gotten surgery on my body yet, Abby, and I can't dress modestly because of it. You can't have everything in this world, okay? You can't have everything.
First off, what is it? Modesty is dressing in a way that doesn't sexualize your body.
I would be hard-pressed to find a way that doesn't sexualize your body because let's be real, dude. Let's be real. I get sexualized when I'm walking down the street in my whole-ass pajamas, in an oversized t-shirt with my pajama pants on, with my hair in a mullet, having been growing out for months, with my face mask on, walking my dog like that, and some guy across the street 6 feet apart from me in his face mask will be like, "Hey girl, you single?" So, you know what? Maybe this is a Chicago thing, but at least over here, there is no way not to sexualize yourself because men will always find a way to be awful. Now the shitty feminist is coming back out of me. Abby, you're bringing this out in me. Why do you look so pleased with yourself?
Get the appeal of not wanting to dress modestly all the time. Even for those of us who do dress modestly, sometimes it's hard. It's fun to dress in a way that makes you desirable. It's fun.
It's not about being desirable, Abby. I think I look desirable regardless. For me, dressing in a way that shows off my titties is literally a matter of if I want to buy clothes that fit my entire body, it's like $70 a shirt. It's literally a budgetary thing. I have this shirt mostly unbuttoned under here because the top button, I got it closed and I put this over top of it, but I can't dress this way every day. It's too warm. And I don't like how it looks.
Fun to be noticed. But the question is, who do you want to be desirable to?
Myself.
And do you want to be noticed for being beautiful or being sexy?
Both.
Modesty is about treating your body with respect. It's about recognizing reality. That men are visual creatures, not emotional ones.
Men are both visual, men and women and everybody. Everybody has both visual and emotional. I won't say everybody has both of those because, like, I have friends who are blind, so they don't react to visual stimuli. Men are visual, women are emotional. Do you have a source for that? That sounds like you made that up.
It's about leaving things to the imagination. It's about dressing beautifully and attractively, but not garishly.
Here's the thing, Abby. Men will they will leave it, their imagination is more than enough. So you could go out in a literal potato sack and get sexually harassed, okay? At least in where I live.
It's about embracing femininity. And it's about dressing in public in a way that's appropriate for everyone, from children to grandparents to moms and dads. Modesty is a way for you to respect yourself and respect others. When you go to the park and you're surrounded by families with children, is it fair to dress in a way that's distracting?
Distracting to who? What's distracting? What are you talking about? This is like back when I was in school, right? I'm so proud of Generation Z women. I will tell you, Generation Z women, y'all are a little bit younger than me, and I'm proud of you guys. Because what you guys did was you started this whole conversation about how high school dress codes are misogynistic. How it's like people are like, oh, women, you can't dress in ways that are comfortable because what if men get distracted? What if the boys get distracted? It's like they should learn to keep their eyes on their own paper. They should have to learn that. And like, I remember being in school and getting off the bus in the morning and having there be male administrators standing there looking out for girls whose shorts were slightly too short, and you had to have your shorts reach your fingertips, which, like, that's not easy to find. It's not easy to find that also fits an ass as big as mine, okay? It's easy to find if you shop in the men's section, but in the men's section, if I buy shorts that fit my waist, it's gonna squish up my ass because I've got an aggressively feminine body, okay, Abby? So anyway, there would be men out there like, ooh, your shorts look too short, let me measure that. It's like, why are you looking at underage girls so much? Stop it! Anyway, this sounds like another thing that's not women's fault.
No. Instead, dress in a way that's appropriate for the occasion. When you meet a guy and immediately have a connection, you have one chance to make an impression.
That's not true, dude. I met Tyler when I was 11 in 6th grade homeroom, and neither of us were attracted to each other because we were literal children. So, no, we didn't have one chance to make an impression. We went on our first date almost 4 years later. We were 14, and it was the end of 8th grade when we went on our first date. And so, no, we made different impressions over time. You don't have one chance to make an impression. That's dumb. If I had one chance to make an impression, Tyler wouldn't have married me because I was like a quirky little 6th grader and 11 years old with my janky bangs like this and still trying to brush out curly hair every day that I went to school. So, and he was like some like little scrawny dude with this shitty greasy haircut. No. We would have never got married if we had only one impression.
Want him to leave having your body at the forefront of his mind? Or you, as a person?
You can think of someone and their body. Our bodies are a vessel that contain our souls, Abby.
If you're wearing something incredibly revealing, it will be difficult for him to focus on your personality.
I disagree. My personality is really strong. I even am open about the fact, I'm like, guys, my boobs are so huge. Here they are. Look at how huge. But you're still going to remember my personality because my personality is even huger than my titties are.
Instead, he might be focusing on your physical appeal. Of course, there are men who will look at you this way no matter what. But more men will think of you as a sex object if you dress like one than if you dress like a lady. Does that mean you're not leaving anything to his imagination? And you're not giving him an opportunity to get to know you.
Why not? Why? Just because you can see someone's body doesn't mean you're not interested in getting to know them. In fact, this way you could weed out more weirdos faster.
I'm guessing you don't want to attract the kind of man who is only looking to spend one night with you. But when you...
I mean, sometimes. Not anymore because I'm married now, but back in the day, dude, I didn't want to have to be attached to a relationship with all their stupid asses.
To dress immodestly, men are wired to have one thing on the brain. When you go to a work meeting, do you want to have cleavage and legs showing?
I wish I didn't, but a lot of professional wear for women, it's not built to hold all of this, Abby. How about you fix the fashion industry and then get back to me?
No. You want the people there to listen to you and engage with your ideas, not your sexuality.
If you're not engaging with my ideas because I'm too hot, that's a you problem. I'm allowed to be as hot as I want to be. You know what? Just for you, Abby, I'm opening a button. Just for that.
Dressing modestly is such a feminine thing to do because it accentuates your figure instead of revealing it. And here's the thing. You can dress modestly and beautifully. There are so many examples of this. Look at Kate Middleton.
Yeah, okay, Kate Middleton looks beautiful. I agree. But, like, do we have to dress like literal royalty just to go to work or just to go to the park? Can you give an example of some everyday wear, please?
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama looks beautiful. I agree. At least the dress Michelle is wearing there is, like, more, like, it's still fancy, though, dude. Like, but, like, yes, Michelle looks beautiful. I agree.
And Ivanka Trump.
Yeah, y'all know I hate the Trumps, but, like, I won't lie, Ivanka's very beautiful. Like I said, she's gorgeous. I would be lying if I was, like, saying Ivanka was ugly just because I think she's a shitty person. She's a shitty person, but she's pretty. You can be pretty and evil. Ivanka can be, like, one of those beautiful supervillains or something, but, like, not in a cool way, like, in an actually evil way.
Nobody looks at them and thinks, wow, they're frumpy. But in today's day and age, where everything goes, it's hard to know what's modest and what's not. Because at 50 years old, do you want to be trying to be praised for your body or praised for your family?
Neither. I'd rather be praised for my business, but that wasn't an option. Option C, praised for being a really great small business owner.
Treating your sexiness like it's your best feature is a losing battle.
How is it treating it like it's your best feature? I literally just said it, Abby. I literally just said that I can go out here with my body on full display, but I'm so fucking loud that people will still remember my personality first. That's the key, Abby. You just gotta make a bigger splash.
Because time always wins. And now you're competing with other women, too. So what's...
Time always wins. That's some existential horror right there. We're all gonna die one day. You'll always get old and get less attractive. It's gonna happen. Might as well prepare for it. Do you want to be a corpse? Do you want to be trying to be sexy when you're a fucking corpse? You want to be laying in your casket at the funeral with your ass and titties on full display? Is that what you want? Do you want people at your funeral to be like, damn, she looks hot. I'm gonna be a necrophiliac for her.
Beauty is both inside and out. It's about how your soul shines through your eyes and through your smile. It's about how your external features complement your personality. Sexiness is just about your body. Modesty reminds us what's important.
All right, let's finish off today with conservative women Q&A. I want to hear all about the answers. I wonder, because it seems like more people, every video, Abby gets ratioed hard, right? Like, her dislikes are like 3 times as much as her likes on each video. So I think it's because she's advertising to everyone, even people who don't believe in these things would see these videos. So I'm wondering if she actually answers questions from people like me who are asking, hey, Abby, what do you actually mean by this? Why do you think this? Let's see.
Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be doing a conservative women's Q&A.
Awesome. Good for you. I'm excited.
The first question says, how do you find the courage to speak your mind in very liberal settings? This is a really hard thing, and I think it really depends on what...
Okay, I feel like this is not informative to me because it's like, speak her mind about what issues, what do you define as the liberal setting, what do you define as an issue that's difficult to talk about? I'm hoping she goes into detail, but Abby, you're not leaving me a lot of hope.
What kind of liberal setting you're talking about. If you're in a liberal setting where it's going to affect your career to speak out, where people shouldn't be talking about their politics regardless of what side of the aisle they're on, and people are breaking that rule, but it will affect your income if you were to speak out about being a conservative.
Okay, so this is not even a conservative thing. This is just... it's rude to talk about politics at work.
But the best way to do it is always just to know what you're talking about. As soon as you actually have the background and the information to make the arguments that are more conservative, you won't feel nervous or scared because you actually have everything you need to make a good argument.
Abby, what do you know about making a good argument? You have used no sources. You have used no specific examples. You haven't even told me what being conservative means to you. Does it just mean dressing modestly? Is that the only thing? Or do you have like actual political beliefs? Are you talking about like regulations of corporations within the government? Are you talking about like how to handle going to war? Are you talking about military funding? What are you talking about when you say you're conservative?
If you've ever been in a situation where you actually don't really feel comfortable engaging in a conversation from a conservative perspective because you don't know enough about that topic, you'll know that it's uncomfortable, you feel a little bit nervous, you know you disagree, but you don't think that you have enough information to actually make a good point. And I wouldn't recommend engaging in a conversation when you don't really know what you're talking about.
Why not just listen in those cases? Like, there are times when I don't know a ton about a certain issue, and I will say outright, I'll say, yeah, I don't know enough about this to have an informed stance, so tell me your thoughts on it. And then I'll go look up and do more research later, and I'll come back and see if I agree with you. Like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Because you're going to end up feeling a little bit upset that you couldn't make your argument well. The best...
Oh, wait, so why is winning the argument more important than learning? Like, why can't you be wrong? I've been wrong about plenty of things that people have, like, told me their perspective, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of it that way. Like, why can't you just do that? Just do that, Abby. That's so much easier.
The next question is, stay friends with old friends who no longer share your views. I would say it really depends on the friendship. Now, if you have a friend who has a different point of view, but is comfortable talking about that different point of view with you and doesn't think that you're a bad person for being more conservative, then I think you can still be friends, because maybe you guys share things that have nothing to do with politics. Maybe.
Okay, but what does conservative mean to you? Like, for example, some people would say being conservative means that you're not supportive of the LGBT community, right? And then other people would say, well, I'm gay, trans, like there are transgender conservative people out there, right? And so those people would say, no, for me, being conservative is about this type of belief on how government and business and the population interacts. It really depends what you mean. Like, so if someone said to me, like, I'm a conservative and therefore I don't approve of the fact that you are open about being attracted to women while you're in a relationship with a man, then I would be like, but that's what I do. So, like, if you're not comfortable with that, like, you're just gonna have to put up with it, because I'm not gonna stop being that way for you, you know? So it really depends on it's not just what the friendship is, it's also what the belief is. Like, is the belief, and this is not a conservative or liberal thing, this is just a difference in belief things, is your belief going to infringe on that other person's livelihood and the other person's life? And if your belief is going to infringe on their life and you're judging them for something that's core to who they are, I can understand why they'd be mad at you. But again, I'm a person who does engage in discussion, so I have had people in the past come up to me and say shit like, Savvy, why are you open about, you know, liking women if you're with a man, and that kind of thing. And I'll take the time to explain it, because, dude, bisexual erasure is a huge issue, right? And people don't understand. So I'll explain that kind of thing, and I'll engage with that. And that person who previously had been more like, oh, but you're married to this one person, and then later they'd be like, oh, I see. So I feel like you have a chance to educate someone else in that sense, but I don't. If that other person would refuse to listen and be like, no, you are sinning by liking hot women so much, then I would be like, well, you're just judging me as a person then. So it really depends.
Maybe you guys like going shopping together or doing your makeup or whatever it is, and it really doesn't have anything to do with your political ideology. Now, if you guys are constantly getting in fights and your friend is villainizing you, or you're villainizing your friend for having a different viewpoint, that's a friendship that's going to be really hard to maintain. But a friendship where both of you are respectful of each other, where maybe you don't really talk about politics, but you just enjoy each other's company, that's okay.
So here's another example of what it means by politics. So let's say we're in a pandemic, right? This video was made in July, so she knows we're in a pandemic. So let's say we're in a pandemic right now. And let's just make the stereotype, right? Let's say this is a conservative stereotype person who's like, I think Trump is doing a good job. I am glad that he's opening the churches back up, because I want to go to a crowded church and do my thing there. And also, I don't think that we need any healthcare changes because everything's fine. Let's say they say that. And then the friend of theirs is a person who has contracted the coronavirus, has no money to pay hospital bills, and their family is worried about catching it, and maybe one of their relatives has died of it already, and you're hanging out with them while you've just gone to church and spread their virus to everyone else. Like, let's say that that's the scenario here. And it's technically a political belief, whether you think there needs to be healthcare reform. It's technically a political belief. But it's like, are you two just going to go shopping and hang out and play games and whatever when that person is worried that they're dying from a virus? Like, no, at that point they'd be like, dude, you're watching me die of this thing. And that's not me saying that, like, I know the right way to handle the healthcare situation in this country. I am not an expert. Also, this is not my job. I'm not a politician. But that's a case where it's like, is this a political belief? Or, like, is this affecting... Because she seems to be ignoring when it's actually actively affecting one of their lives in the moment.
Next question is how to deal with professors who lean toward the left.
That's
a really hard one. Now, it depends on your professor. If your professor leans toward the left and you think they're going to tank your grades by you writing a paper that's more on the conservative side of things, don't risk it. Don't get your grades down just so that you can say something that he doesn't even care about and you're not.
Okay, if you're in college and you're writing this paper... The whole point of a paper is you have to defend your viewpoint. So you're also not giving an example that I can really go off of. So, like, if the professor presents a topic to write a paper about, and you're like, well, I have a different belief than the professor on this paper, girl, back that statement up, right? Like, yeah, here's a source. Here's a bunch of sources. Here's some peer-reviewed studies that show this, right? Like, if you're writing a research paper, dude, you're gonna have to use some sources. So, like, if your professor doesn't believe what you're saying, or if they have a different belief, you need to prove your point to them. If you just say, like, well, my beliefs are different, like, that's the whole thing. I don't know. Maybe this is just my college experience, but it's been my experience that even if a professor doesn't agree with you, or you don't agree with them on a certain topic, if you substantiate your claims really well, they will appreciate that, because it's more about your ability to research and think critically than it is about you agreeing with them. And if you're disagreeing with them in a way that shows that you just weren't listening during the class, or that you are just, like, ignoring the sources, then obviously they're going to be mad about that because you didn't do the assignment. But I just think this is a vague question that has infinite possibilities.
And if in your classes he's saying stuff that's very left-leaning, I think it makes sense that you would want to speak up about it. So as long as you know what you're talking.
Left-leaning in what way? God.
Now, I was in a writing class in college where our teacher had us write on the board left, right, center, and he told us what each news network was. So he said that Fox was right, he said MSNBC was left, and he said Jon Stewart was center. Now,
that's hilarious. I actually agree with her that that's ridiculous. Jon Stewart is a comedian, so he is not any of those things. I would say Fox is right-leaning from my experience. I think he's probably right about that. MSNBC is just a corporate shill. Like, the left, right, the MSNBC has no politics. I don't see how anyone can think MSNBC is a left-leaning network with how they've treated Bernie Sanders. And the people who are like, oh, it's a left-leaning network because they support Joe Biden. Joe Biden is an old school right-wing guy that has just been rebranded. So again, this is me going off about my political beliefs, which is probably unnecessary for this, but I don't believe that any news networks are actually aligned with any legitimate ideologies. They all align with the ideology of, what do our corporate sponsors want to pay for that will get views with certain crowds? Literally, that's it.
The next question is it better to speak up about things I care about and risk receiving backlash, or no?
This Q&A is really bad so far. Like, I wish someone would say, Abby, what are your views on the upcoming election? Who do you think we should vote for and why? Abby, what are your views on military funding? What are your views on police funding? What are your views on how the healthcare system is run? Do you have any different ideas? Do you think that, you know, Donald Trump is doing a good job with, you know, with the pandemic right now? Do you think Joe Biden would do better? Do you think someone else other than the two of them would? Like, why aren't these actual, like, if she's so into, like, political beliefs, she has not told me one single political belief that she has. She vaguely implied that she is pro-life, but that's it. Like, that is it. And she didn't even say it outright. She just implied it. So, Abby, you confuse me. So that was Savannah, your straight aunt from the 50s, reacting to Classically Abby. Who am I kidding? I went off the fucking handle. Let's go back into ugly feminist mode. All right. I did the makeup before I filmed the outro, so I don't really know how I'm going to transition from this. Oh, there was another hair clip in here. What do we know? There we go. That's better. Ah, my hair is back to normal now. God, I'm so fucking cute I could die. Well, that was my reaction to Classically Abby. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. If you, like me, want to be remembered not for your body or your family, but for your small business, check out all the links in my description below, because I have a link to join my Lady Business Owners Facebook group. You do not have to be a woman to join. I just called it that to uplift women in business and that kind of thing. So check that out, linked in the description below. Check out all of my links. My small business, Forever Home Friends, is there. You know, we sell books and stuffed animals and toys based on real rescue dogs. All of my books are linked in the description below. If you want to read the most ugly feminist reacts type of book of all time, you can check out Sculpt Yourself, which is a book all about feminism, the LGBT community, and body image, but it's fiction. It's like a partial sci-fi romance. It's cool. You'll have a good time. Anyway, check all of that out, linked in the description below. I will see you guys again soon, but in the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses.